Welcome back, everyone, to Day 2 Smite Challenger Circuit Playoffs. And while you can see behind us, Herculean, Hoofs, the winner dogs, we've settled 3 of the 4 matches today. We've got one more for you, and it's surprisingly your 3rd and 4th seed taking each other on up here in the top portion of the North American bracket. Loser of this one has to go play Sturdy Artisans. That's scary.
Have fun.
And not something you want to deal with. Winner gets a guaranteed minimum of $10,000 more, as well as a 1-game advantage there in the finals. And trust me, after what we saw from Sturdy Artisans earlier, not only good luck to whoever loses, but good luck to potentially the finals. You might need that 1-game advantage if they continue on the tear we saw earlier. And so, it will all come down to this. Winter Dogs, though, Mifflin, have an interesting thing. So I looked at it, the history of this. 2-0 for the Hoofs, both times they played each other, in Week 4 and in Week 6. Now, while looking at that, we uncovered the mystery, which is they haven't played each other since the Winter Dogs made some important changes.
They did. Some roster changes here for the Winter Dogs, dropping a couple of their players in exchange for some more veteran talent. Wowie of Obey fame back in Season 7, now joining the Winter Dogs on this squad as the Hunter, and Benny Q over to the mid lane. Big UG, and was it Crimson that got dropped off for this one? So the whole roster, top to bottom, is going to be Aquarius, and Inster, Benny Q, Wowie, and Gamma running it for the Winter Dogs. And this is going to be an interesting draft because these guys have only been playing together since the 4th of this month.
Yeah, not as much time together as maybe their opponents here, and the Herculean Hoofs look pretty solid. A 2-0, I believe, for them yesterday. They kind of caught everyone off guard. Benny Q is one of those players. Look, I'm going to give him a lot of credit because I like Benny Q. I like watching Benny Q. I've been doing it for years. When I used to, like, before I was hired at hi-rez, I cast the Challenger Circuit. Benny Q was doing it there. I'm going to throw him under the bus and mention the fact that he does like Blink Artemis. At least that's something I see him go to way too routinely. But he's going to be in the mid lane here. And so we got to see a little bit of Raw that we saw earlier. I think he's going to bring a different flavor to it. And I'm excited to see how this team meshes today. Again, especially since yesterday they didn't get to play. They did have their play-in game and I guess set that brought them to this portion of the tournament, but they didn't get that warm-up, I guess, that you got out of the Herculean Hoofs.
Gotta hope they were at least able to find some scrims last night, but can't imagine too many teams in North America were willing to scrim after playing through these playoffs here. I think that this team has a lot of potential. There is a bit of a double-edged sword to it, sure. You weren't quite able to get your warm hands coming into this one, but no one's been able to study what you're doing right now. You haven't shown anything. You haven't shown your hand at all in the playoffs, so what are the Herculean Hoofs planning for? They haven't seen the Winter Dogs play together.
Do they have?
Yeah, might as well just come in with a blank slate, play your own plan.
I'm excited to see. I'm looking at it. It's just interesting. Crimson, it looks like he's listed on their former lineup twice because a while ago he played with Winter Dogs,
twice?
went away, came back. And while unfortunately for him, and admittedly big shoes to fill for Benny Q in that regard, I think UG for Wowie feels like an upgrade, right? Wowie, we got to see last year, was able to hold his own against some of the other pros that we have in the SBL still. But Benny Q, as much as I like to laud his career as a player and what he's been able to do, this is definitely going to be difficult. Crimson was kind of popping off. Most of the time, if the Winter Dogs won, well, I guess who was kind of helping lead that? The mid lane was doing so, and the Herculean Hooves are the team that they're going to have to try and tackle this time around. They've gone by many names in the past. Baskin and the Boys,
yes, sir.
They've got so much that they have, and well, they were appropriately named when they were Baskin and the Boys, because guess what? Baskin is on the team. He's right there in the middle, surrounded by the boys. Masked, Meerkat, Snoopy, Gino, a lot of huge names on here, Mifflin, and so much so that I would argue when you watch or look at this roster, and you go back to week, let's say 5, and you look at the standings, you go, something's wrong, right?
Yeah, how'd that happen? So it must have been some sort of issues that led up to it because they were struggling towards the beginning of the season. But now that we're in the playoff stages, they are looking like a revitalized team. They're coming together much better, and gotta imagine that $30,000 might be a little bit of a fire under your butt to get you ready for something like this. Keep your eyes on the titular, or what used to be the titular player, Baskin. Kim Woon-young has been an absolute dominant force here at the SCC level. He was a dominant force at the SPL level. I mean, I'll say it every single time I get an opportunity to talk about this guy. We are lucky. We are lucky that my man is going through school, because if he was given his entire time to Smite, I don't think anyone would be allowed to play.
And honestly, Look, I was saying it earlier on, I'd still like to see it. If we ever get a show match, I want to see the Herculean Hoofs take on some of the SBL teams, because I think there's a good chance that it could be a toss-up. It does require maybe an incubation period. Again, the Hoofs looked really good yesterday in their 2-0. You saw those highlights. We'll have to see if they can continue that today as we move forward to picks and bans here for game number 1. A lot on the line, a new clean slate. All of the things that we've said about today still true, but you can kind of wipe it through. Terra probably not going to get picked up. This is North America, not Europe. Throw her out the window. Tiamat probably going to get banned. Gilgamesh, more than likely. And that opens up the King Arthur, the Cucullin conversation. You got your Chiron conversation, your Yanis. There's so many gods to tackle. Speaking of Yanis, Baskin likes to play him and has been pretty good on him in mid.
Yeah, Baskin likes to play anything.
Anything.
Open up the mage tab, and there are more mages than any other class in the game. Keep that in mind. Throw a dart at your screen. Baskin's probably in the conversation for top 5 players who have ever played that god, full stop. It doesn't matter if you land on Opwash or Zhongqi. Baskin can play that god at an incredibly high level. Already a couple targeted bans out there. Tiamat taken away from the Winter Dogs, who really do like to take that pick into the Soul Lane through Aquarius. And then the Yanis that we highlighted that Baskin likes. Well, he's not going to be allowed to take it this time around. But as you already highlighted, Gore, with your future site, Chiron, left available and immediately taken.
See, what I do is I look at what everyone else has been picking, and I just say those names, and most of the time it works out. It's a secret for you here. If you want to be able to be right 50% of the time, just say someone that's popular. Look, Yanis, yeah, he's getting banned a lot. Sure, maybe he's probably going to get banned. It's all numbers or something. Guan Yu on her locked in against him. On her, again, kind of an interesting pickup as someone who's been coming back to kind of fight back in terms of Chiron's pickup and his rise to prominence. We've seen the Cupid be successful, but this on her, does he still feel good? I mean, the ult nerf, it feels like it's just a small thing, really, in the grand scheme of on her's boxing potential.
No, I think on her is incredibly strong right now. Sure, the ultimate got nerfed, but just before that ult cooldown nerf, by the way, it still does the same damage. He got a buff to his disperse. Now it doesn't have nearly as much pre-fire frames, so you can use it reactionary to avoid just about anything that you want. It also has a sneaky good matchup into this Mercury. If he wants to gank you, well, Mercury has a little bit of pre-fire on that ultimate, the Sonic Boom. You could pillar it, you could jump it, you could do whatever you want to make sure that you remain safe inside of that engagement. I am surprised to see on her get picked up, though, considering the priority we've seen all weekend on both Europe and North American soil towards the Heimdall, which was still available. Instead, though, it is a very aggressive strategy so far from the Winter Dogs. Guan Yu, we're running it down. On her, running it down. Fenrir, well, he's probably going to be running it down.
Well, the Mercury, look, we've seen Mercury specifically in those highlights for Masked prior to this game, but also Sam, right? I mean, SBL players have been picking him up, forcing him to be a must ban in some of those cases. We'll see if he has that kind of performance. Ganesh, I personally love. I know Dave loves as well. Like, the level of play Ganesh can bring in the right hands, while it doesn't exist necessarily for the first 5 minutes, we had a specific talk about Ganesh last year with some of the SBL supports, and Raffer straight up said, no, 5 minutes, like, you're not trying to play for the first 5 levels, really, as Ganesh. You're looking for, once you get those Dharmic Pillars online, once you make those rotations to the 3v3 in mid, maybe that'll come through. He's going to be paired with the Ra and more than likely the Fenrir from the jungle in that 3v3. I mean, this is an interesting lineup, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, Myth. It feels like the Herculean Hoofs got to run a tier list lineup more than anything.
Yeah, if Reddit were allowed to draft a Smite composition, you probably wouldn't have much different from what the Hoofs have selected for themselves. Chiron, King Arthur, Mercury, Merlin, and somehow Athena in that last slot, going to make its way through. Got a little bit of a camera action in front of me here, but it's all good coming through. I like this Winter Dogs draft. I'm going to say it. I'm going to wholeheartedly say it right now. I like it. The only concern I have for the Winter Dogs is how consistent their beads burning is. If you want that Ragnarok ultimate to be that consistent, I hit somebody with it, they die tool, you need someone else to be burning that defensive relic. Is it going to be the Ganesh every single time with that single target dash? Are you reliant on this Guan Yu to rotate out of lane early on? It's not very easy to execute on this draft from the Winter Dogs, but if they get the ball rolling, if they come out ahead early, they can absolutely decimate with this draft.
And all of these picks that they have on their side have been notable picks, like recently, of anything. Like Ra, maybe the least of those. Ganesh, probably in that conversation as well. But Guan Yu, on her, Fenrir have all been up at the top of the conversation this year Ganesh in the right hands deserves to be in that conversation. Ra as well. We saw a lot of the highlights from BennyQ being on this, but I will say they are 2-1 in terms of losses so far. So I guess 2 out of 3 of the sets they've played so far they've lost since the roster swap. So the the Winter Dogs here trying to change things up. Is this the kind of draft that's going to be able to hold on to it? I mean, there's Athena Taunt, King Arthur's on the other side, Mercury exists. I don't know. There's a lot that really feels like it's going to hound on them and kind of put them down.
There is a lot that they're going to have to work their way through, man. I mean, the Winter Dogs aren't really trying to play counteractive. They're trying to play proactive with their own draft. They cannot concern themselves with what the Herculean Hoofs are doing themselves because the Winter Dogs have such an aggressive composition in their own right. Instead, it's about oppression. If you're not oppressing with this draft, you're being oppressed. But the Herculean Hoofs, again, we said it earlier at the top of the P's and B's here, have essentially just a Reddit tier list composition. It's hard to argue against what they have individually. Global presence from the Athena, Chiron being one of the best early game aggression hunters in the game, full stop. King Arthur has been a consistent paragon of consistency out of the Soul Lane, and well, we've seen what Sanford Soccer can do on Mercury, and I don't even want to talk about Baskin's pick, because Baskin's going to do what Baskin does best, and that is aggressive play.
Yeah. Merlin is scary in the right hands. Baskin's hands feel kind of like the right hands in this case. Again, tier list-wise, feels like the Herculean Hoofs, but the surprise has been, I want to say, on everybody's side as of late. Winter Dogs looking to try and keep this one. You had mentioned the burns beating. I was going to say the beads burning potential even that comes through. But also I want to mention the setup. You know, Fenrir Ra combo. We've seen Naja Ra combos that have come through. That's typically where, it's actually the Kings right now in the SBL who are playing that kind of style a lot. Do they have enough to let BennyQ hit snipes in this regularly? Or is it just going to be beads every single time that this Fenrir tries to go in for something?
There should be opportunities for this Fenrir to find the Ragnarok, but he's not the only setup tool that they have to make sure that Searing Pain finds its way home. I mean, Cavalry Charge in the late game team fight should be able to find somebody. Even just the slow from the Dharmic Pillars should be enough for a veteran player like BennyQ to line up the Searing Pain himself as well. And that's not even to mention that some of these ultimates on the side of the Hoofs are going to set themselves up to get ulted. I mean, if Chiron locks himself in place with his own ultimate, or if King Arthur tries to take someone up in the air, it makes it that much easier for him to find the shot onto him as well. I think that it's going to be hard to execute on. We've already kind of mentioned how hard it is to execute on this Winter Dogs draft, but it's certainly possible, and they have the tools to do it.
And just looking at it, well, no, not even just looking at it. In fact, we'll be able to look at it the best way, in-game, exactly how to want it. Can the Winter Dogs live up to their names? Will the Herculean Hooves take on an impossible task? We'll find out right now in Game 1.
Thank you, Gore and Mifflin. J-Mac and Aggro here on the cast for this one. Aggro, I'm looking across the board here at all the relics, the items that are picked up here, and there's one lone sheep amongst all of them. Can you spot that one out for me here?
No, but I can spot an elephant, and that's Gamma, because he's got the Sunder there for the support for the Winter Dogs. Lots of beads, as is per usual whenever you're going up against a Fenrir on the other side. No, not too surprising to see even Gino pick up the Purification beads, especially on Athena, who does have a pretty tough matchup, I think, into Ganesh. That dash takes so long to charge up. He starts charging it, silence. Starts charging it again, dash. It's difficult for her to get her damage off or get her escape off in the midst of the team fight, whatever that Ganesh is around.
Yeah, it's kind of strange seeing, this ninth pick Athena come through, but when you think about into the Ganesh like you're talking, it kind of seems like maybe the Athena was the best one to go into because of the things you mentioned, being silenced out of your dash. You want to dash taunt somebody immediately. Okay, well, here's the Ohm. Now you got to wait longer. Oh, now once the Ohm is done, just throw him right up into the air, but going to go right in. Doesn't have that taunt quite yet, not at level 3, so they're just going to put a little bit of poke on a Gamma, and wow, we can put a lot of poke onto them. Snoopy, not only with the masterful shot, but also with the damage afterward. Meerkat trying to go for the solo kill, but not going to find it just yet. Aqua getting a little bit low thanks to the help of that Bluestone proc coming out of Meerkat.
Still has double pods. He's Guan Yu. He should be able to sustain up in that lane fairly easily. I do have to say that I am in agreement with Mifflin. I like the composition here for the Winter Dogs, especially if Andy can get involved early.
Well, Andy's looking to get involved. He's going to get the stun off the Unchained, and the Brutalize will finish the job. First blood goes the way of the Winter Dogs to get themselves on an early roll.
Perfect. Exactly what I was just asking for. Andy getting involved early. This Winter Dogs team definitely known for their early game aggression, for their willingness to invade buffs and be in the face of the opposition early and often. And this composition does that pretty well. Now, it does also scale into the late game. You've got the healing coming from Benny Q and from Aquarius, so their 5-on-5 will be pretty good as well, but I think that overall the Winter Dogs can execute on what is typically their primary game plan with this type of draft, which is pressure the side lanes early, be very aggressive with this jungler, and Andens are already off to a good start. On the other side, Mask is going to be a little bit slower to try and get involved. He's playing Mercury, not exactly that early game type of jungler.
Yeah, it feels like got like a perfect execute style combo of how many gods can we set up for Benny Q to get that ultimate off with that Raw. Well, you got to go on you with Cavalry Charge. You got the Ragnarok out of Annenster. You've also got Gamma and WoW who can both set up for him as well. A lot of this feels like, yeah, let's get these side lanes ahead, and then Benny will just do Benny Q things when the game, whenever we need him to. On this Raw, he feels like he's going to be a little less safe in that mid lane, but he's got the heal, he's got that extra movement speed. I'm kind of with you and Miffle on this one. Yes, Herculean Hoofs have what you... If you go down, the tier list, they've got a lot of the really strong gods amongst the top ends of the tier list. But I feel that Winter Dogs just have a more Winter Dog style draft. It doesn't feel like they're playing that meta pick. They're just going for what works for them.
Exactly. They're playing what works for them. And that's what you should be doing. You shouldn't just be playing what meta. But that's the thing about the Hoofs draft is that it also just works for them. Meerkat plays a ton of this King Arthur over here in the solo lane. Mask has one of the best, if not the best, Mercuries we've ever seen at the SPL level. Snoopy very comfortable on this Chiron, and Baskin very comfortable, of course, on this Merlin. So I don't think that the Hoofs have gone out of their way to pick things that they see other teams picking. I think they've also picked to their strengths with this draft. They've got a ton of CC, and that's what scares me from the Winter Dogs, is that we're dead to a good Mercury ult. We're dead to a Mercury 3. We're dead to an Athena taunt. All these things can really compound really quickly, and you don't have that much ability to get away from all of them with what they've got.
And it seems they're going to take that level of CC and aggression early on. Ragnarok will force the beads out of Gino. Dark Pillars earlier on. And the spears will be good to help line up the last basic for Annenster. He'll pick up the second kill of the game, and his second kill, the Mask with the Sonic Boom out of the jungle is going to get the beads out of Annenster. And a pillar down onto the bottom end. Magical shot does a little bit of damage, but Andy's not too worried about that, as he'll get that successful second kill.
Really good dump by the Dogs to just use everything onto Gino in that moment, because you needed to, because he still almost got out, but a nice return gank coming from Mask at least gets the beads out from Annenster. That's the thing. I mean, Mask was playing this pick yesterday, and like I said, he's one of the best ever do it. Don't get me wrong, but you look at the way Sam has played this pick and how willing he has been to get involved early. Level 5, ult down a lane. Level 6, I'm right back. It is constantly keeping that pressure on. And Mask has definitely gone with a very different approach to this Mercury, a more classic style to how he's playing it in comparison, which is counter-ganking more often than not, trying to set up engagements in the late game where he's going to be able to do a little bit more of the solo carrying. I feel like you've got a Chiron in that long lane in particular. That's a lane that receives ganks really well because Snoopy doesn't have to play up and tip the gank off. He can easily follow up with his ultimate, regardless of whether or not Wowie jumps away. I'd like to see Mask stay aggressive on this left-hand side because trying to counter-gank the Fenrir might not always work. This Fenrir just has such a good matchup in the Mercury as it is.
Well, we get a very early Forp taken down here for the Winter Dogs. They're going to push that slight advantage that they have in order to drop down one Scorpion. The other one still up onto the map. No signs yet of any team going for it, as Baskin will pick up that red buff for himself. Looking at the way of the starter item, seems that Sands of Time is the popular pick between these two mid laners. Not wanting to go for that conduit gem, which kind of fell out of favor for a while after it was like the hot commodity, and now it seems it's kind of just more of that niche. I mean, where does that conduit gem fall compared to Sands of Time kind of right now for these mid laners?
I think the base forms are both pretty similar. It's a matter of which upgrade you want, and Merlin is one that you can go either direction. You can go with Gem of Focus and be this really difficult to kill mid laner, or you can go with this Pendulum of Ages and have more CDs.
Well, with no beads left for Gino, he's going to get thrown right into the tower, but Mask gets a nice counter rotation in with his own ultimate to pick up one. So yeah, both supports will fall down. A very quick, very messy fight in the early. That's going to be a beads out of Benny Q off of the dash from Mask. That'll be another set of purification beads expended in the fight.
Perfect. That's exactly what Mask wants to do. Nice snipe from Benny. Gets at least one of those mid-harpies. Now I want to see Mask, as soon as that Sonic Boom is back up, be in mid.
Oh, preemptive beads away from the Impale, but it's not going to stop the Centurion out of Snoopy. With the double ultimate from the dual lane will pick up another kill for the Hoofs.
Snoopy really playing well right now. I thought he played great against Guy J yesterday, and the way that the Hoofs really team fought into the mid to late stages of that set. That's a perfect preemptive Impale. Maybe could have just used the ultimate, I suppose, from that distance, but also might not be able to guarantee that Defender of Olympus damage if that's how he does it, so ends up doing the right thing.
Well, ultimate in from Aqua is going to go on to Meerkat. Both of their ultimates have now been expended. Andy's still waiting in the wings. Aqua going to dive under the tower to set up for Andy. Andy's just waiting for the opportunity to get through. That crippling slash is only going to last for so long as Andy gets the brutalized for the kill under the tower. A taunt from Gino only grabs Aqua and gets his beads. So with the 9 sets of beads on the board, we just see them popped one after another from the CC, really on both squads.
Yeah, a lot of people pretty vulnerable now. It's particularly Snoopy on this left-hand side if you're the Hoofs, but Mask has that ultimate up now. Speed buff's coming up. Can easily just go speed to coming right up mid lane and looking for the kill. Now, Gamma being there does make this kill more difficult to execute upon because the CC chain can't be guaranteed like it normally would. If you hit that Sonic Boom onto Benny Q, you want to punch, then 3 on top of him. Gamma's going to be able to interrupt that pretty easily, so maybe that will deter Mask from being aggressive there.
Snoopy going to eat a little bit of poke from Wowie. Mask making his rotation back. Beads are up for Wowie. Mask's going to get spotted out by Andenster, though. It looks like that'll be a telltale for Wowie to play a little bit more carefully, as both junglers have made their way to the dual lane. Gamma's also on rotation. Gino has his ultimate if anything goes down, and they'll finally look at the Scorpion here under the Gold Fury pit and get that objective to ready to be spawned onto the map. But kind of looking across the boards here, 2 to 4 in the kills, but all 4 of the kills for Winter Dogs are on Andenster. How does this affect their more mid-game stage?
Well, it makes it so that he has to be involved in these fights, because if he's not, then the fight is probably not going to go super well. As Wowie, again, Mask, he just comes right back over, runs it down that lane with that ultimate. Perfect. Exactly what we were looking for from this Mercury. Try to keep away from Andenster, not trying to just counter gank him, but be the initiators themselves. I think Wowie just didn't give enough respect. I mean, they saw Mask on those on that Alpha Harpy and near duo side. You got to assume that he's just going to loop underneath after that. That you got to respect that ultimate, because even with beads, Wowie wasn't able to stay alive.
Yeah, and especially if he has a speed buff on him, it means he doesn't really care about going to that side of the map anytime soon. He's got that for 2 minutes. He could stay here and farm up anything he wants, including you. The Winter Dogs, they're going to be the ones who set up for the Gold Fury. Dharmic Pillars drop, Mask is here, and Gino will be here in just a moment with the ultimate, and it's still going to go up into the Ragnarok just to get some extra damage on top. Snipe is good, but Gino is able to steal that one away along with Mask. Gino will pay for his life, but that steal on the back, was that made you look? That's still, it was. Made you look, took that one away from him.
It was.
Wow.
That is... I mean, what do you say? It's you got the Ganesh ult. I mean, Andy is biting the Gold Fury to try and DPS it as much as he can, and it's just on Benny Q to snipe that at the right moment. You've got some of the best secure in the entire game with Rob. Between the 1-4 combo, you get to deal a ton of damage. Maybe it was a little bit too close because the one traveled too quickly and then the ult came through, but I think he just sniped too early regardless, and that's a huge deal because the Winter Dogs had great control. We're starting to lose it with Mask starting to put a lot of pressure around the map, and then all of a sudden you think, okay, we get this Gold Fury, we're right back in commanding position. By not getting that Gold Fury, it makes it a lot more difficult.
Well, we do get to take a second look at the steal here by Mask as he just waits patiently looking through. Yeah, Snipe looks like it's just a little too early from that one. And Mask is able to pick that one up cleanly with that made you look. So just missed timing there by Benny Q, just not realizing how little damage was left to be taken for that Gold Fury. So, unfortunately for Winter Dogs to lose out on the first major objective of the map, they get the Pyromancer as a consolation prize for themselves, but Meerkat already taken down one time, missed Unchained there, and a Dharmic Pillar is just going to set up Meerkat for ultimate demise, and with the Ganesh there on top, the Ohm means that he doesn't get to play the game.
Yeah, but at this point, I mean, it's like, you ganked me. Who cares? I'm 0-3 at this point anyways. I'm so far behind. Meerkat really isn't worth that much investment, even just 2 ultimates, because now you're losing too much on this left-hand side. Aqua could have gotten that tower by himself sooner rather than later. He didn't really need the assistance.
Snipe out of BennyQ and a Desert's Fury out of Wowie, so 2 ultimates expended because of the potential gank over on that left-hand side. Gino dove the tower for that one. Man, he's going to go ahead and take this Scorpion along with Aqua just to make sure that they can get some enhanced buffs on their side of the map, stealing that one away from the Hoofs, and also taking the one onto the left-hand side. So a full enhanced buff on the side of the Winter Dogs map. Looking at the gold charts, though, I mean, just looking across here, basically dead even in gold if we're looking at experience. The only real lead is coming out of that solo lane for the side of Winter Dogs. Otherwise, we're looking at a dead even game here, Ryan, at not even 14 minutes.
I mean, it's really just that one side of the map is doing well for the Hoofs, and it's the other side that's doing well for the Winter Dogs. Aqua's massive, Meerkat is incredibly far behind, Snoopy's massive, Wowie's really far behind. And so who's going to be able to do more with their lead? Is it going to be Aqua on the Guan or Snoopy on the Chiron is really the question. And having a fed Guan is a really good thing to have, no doubt. You get to have him deal a lot of damage, stay alive more easily, and then be able to get those heals off. But Chiron has just looked so good in these team fights across multiple different teams. I've got a feeling that the Hoofs are going to have the CC to be able to lock Aqua down and maybe just bypass him with their long-range damage from the Chiron, with the Mercury ultimate, leave Baskin and Snoopy to deal with him 2v1, and the Hoofs should be favored on the back end of these team fights.
Taunt on the Gamma, a little bit of damage out of Baskin, not a ton. However, Gamma does fall down to about half health. Quick Oracle secure from Mass to make sure he gets the vision onto the Fury. But I want to kind of counter that question with it, which is more valuable, Aqua or Snoopy coming late game. Maybe which one is... maybe we'll hold that one as Aqua. Never mind. They're just going to leave it alone. They're just going to let the Soul Layer sell things. But which one comes out to being, probably the least valuable amongst it? Would it be a from behind Arthur or from behind on her?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the from behind Arthur should be able to do a little bit more, as Aqua in trouble, but a great snipe from BennyQ. Immediately, Mask says, so, yes, sir. Sorry, sir. I'll be turning around and heading back towards the base. That snipe landed for Benny and did a ton of damage to the enemy jungler.
Just a little construction in the jungle. We just had to make a very strange detour. We'll be heading back home now. No problem on that one. Great little snipe there by BennyQ, catching that one. And Meerkat in a little bit of danger here. He's going to be forced to use his ultimate on Aqua. That's going to get Gino use the ultimate and massive Sonic Boom onto the back end. Ragnarok early from Anminster. Aqua will fall down after the double ult comes through. Now Andy has to make a full retreat as well, as there's nothing left for him to take.
Great ultimate from Mask, and there's your answer. Meerkat very far behind, but still tanky enough to withstand that 2v1 for long enough to buy time for Mask and for Gino in order to get there. Gino's done a good job so far in this Athena, 0-3, but like I said, I think this composition does pretty well against him.
Beads onto BennyQ, going to be forced out now. Desert's Fury out of Wowie, so that's his safety net with the ultimate taken away. Meerkat getting a little bit low, and the Brutalize from Anninster will make sure to take him down. Masterful shot out of Snoopy. He's going to do a little bit of pot shot damage, but they finally get that kill onto Meerkat. Just took a little bit of extra work.
Yeah, including BennyQ's snipe, and with that down, the Hoofs are going to try and shred this Fury, and boy, will they. They shred it quickly, even before Gamma can get there. And those crits came through pretty good for Mast in that moment. Got some pretty good RNG, I think, if we did the math on how many times he crit that Primal Fury. And they needed it basically all the way in order to make sure it went down before Gamma could steal it.
Now with that one, Herculean Hoofs will get a very, very small gold lead. Only about 1,500 or so, which we say that sounds small, but considering the rest of this game has pretty much been dead even. That's the first kind of somewhat substantial lead that we've seen so far between these teams. And kind of to be expected of the 3rd and 4th seed teams. They've been very close in their standings for pretty much the entirety of the season. Fire Giant started up here. Immediately, Matt's going to get stopped out by the Cavalry Charge. Winter Dogs will be able to secure that one with the ultimate. And now it's a 5v2. Mass is forced away. Gino is stuck in the middle of all of them. They got Benny Q for the heals, but with that cursed Ankh pop, they're all going to back away. Centurion not going to find a home on anybody. And with that, Winter Dogs get a clean Fire Giant escape.
Really good call by the Winter Dogs. I mean, we're talking about the burn that the Hoofs have on objective between the Mercury and the Merlin. But that Frenzy was there. Gamma didn't even have his ultimate, so that could have been even faster for the Winter Dogs. And they just go over and they just roll the dice on the Fire Giant. But they had pretty good odds on that moment, knowing that the Hoofs had to reset, that it was likely that they were going to have to go back and spend their gold and heal up after the last team fight. And they just use that Frenzy well, and that time the snipe works from BennyQ in order to secure the objective. I like the call. And now, what was an even game, maybe starting to lean more towards the Hoof, ends up being the Winter Dogs in control.
Yeah, you look at the charts again, 1,300 experience, negligible. 600 gold, negligible if there wasn't a Fire Giant buff around the team that's slightly down onto that one. And with 4 towers on the map for them still to take down on both sides of the field, actually, I mean, that's just free gold sitting around for them whenever they so choose to take it. For now, they're going to back away. Maybe wait for the minions to show up before they want to make a shot at this one. And I like the idea of the Hoofs actually maybe holding ground here. This isn't the end of the world. I mean, 19 minutes in, both teams are even. And you might as well just try and find this Fire Giant team at least once.
At least show some face. I mean, they're not giving the gold for free, but Tier 1 tower shouldn't really scare away the Winter Dogs, especially a half-health Tier 1 tower. I don't know. I think that I agree with the Hoofs that you shouldn't be giving up gold for free from this position. I really would not be too stressed about this Tier 1. I think I would have fought on Tier 2 in mid. But if the Winter Dogs are going to play scared of just a Tier 1, then why not stand underneath it? I think that the Winter Dogs are just giving too much respect.
Well, Gamma's going to walk in and tank up the tower with the help from the heal out of BennyQ. Off, we're going to take about half of his health after getting taunted in. The Tier 1 tower goes down very quickly thanks to the carries amongst the team. So Wowie is able to drop that one down very quickly. And it'll be a quick reset from the Winter Dogs as well. They've had this Fire Giant for, a minute and a half now. They've basically done nothing with it except take 500 gold off the map.
Well, they've gotten an additional 91 gold in comparison to the Hoof since they got this Fire Giant, according to the Fire Giant power play graphic. That is not enough. In fact, they're down XP during this time. I just don't know what the Winter Dogs are going to do in these 5-on-5 Civil War style, trench battles that you've got to go up against here underneath towers. Their initiation isn't exactly great. You're looking for Aqua to blink Guan ult most of the time would be your best initiation, because Gamma, if he just drops the cage from a range, they just walk out of it. So that's not really a threat. And Sir will get one shot if he blinks in, so he's not really the threat. That lack of initiation for the Winter Dogs, the lack of confidence on that initiation, is what's really led to this Fire Giant going to the wayside. It took them that long to muster up the courage to knock down a half-health Tier 1.
And, I mean, going on with that one, they're going to lose this Fire Giant buff in just a moment. It looks like they might get an Oni Fury as well on top of that. So they get a Tier 1 tower, maybe one Fury. Well, maybe they might be looking for a kill here. Gino gonna get a little bit low, take some damage, but he'll be fine for the time being. Gamba got a dash away, but I mean, if they're this scared to play when they, basically single-handedly snuck the Fire Giant and came out, empty, clean from it too. It was a very clean Fire Giant. How are they gonna play when they actually have contest against that Fire Giant? Because, like you said, they're scared of a Tier 1 tower. What are they gonna do when 5 other players are showing face on the map?
Well, it's just a different style of engagement that you have to take, and I'm not too worried about the Winter Dogs being able to be aggressive in fights like this. It's just when they're standing staring at one another, when those initiations are going to be more telegraphed. The Hoofs have easy initiation. It's Blink Arthur ult that takes him out of the combat space. It's Sonic Boom. It's Taunt from Gino. Those things are much easier to execute on when everyone knows what the situation is, whereas the Winter Dogs, they're using Ananser as their primary initiation tool, but he can't do that forever. He's still an assassin, even though he's building hybrid in this game. he can't be that primary engagement tool forever. The Winter Dogs have got to get someone else to get some of this damage off and get the fight started for them. Or they just have to wait until the Hoofs engage for them and then try and do the full-on counter engage.
Well, they're going to start up this Oni Fury one more time. Fire Giant buff has fallen off, and it will respawn in just a moment here, but they're trying to go for this Fury. Leash is about half health just from Gino and Meerkat walking forward. And up until now, they were only fighting 4v5, potentially, but Mass has made his way back in. And it'd be, once again, a disengage, so no real fight wanting to be had for just this Oni Fury. And I don't blame him. It's not, it's not the end-all, be-all objective right now. It's just an Oni Fury. All towers are still up, so maybe they lose a tier 1 tower from Oni minions pushing in. Maybe at worst, that's what they lose onto it.
Yeah, Oni definitely one of the least threatening Furies at this point. But you still have, you still want to grab it. Of course, it's still global gold and experience for you. Interestingly enough, Baskin went alternate timeline.
I just noticed that. For those at home, I mean, tell us a little bit about this alternate timeline. I think this might be the first time that we've seen it in competitive.
No, we saw it a little bit during group stages and that kind of stuff, but we haven't seen it really pop off. I can tell you that much.
Right.
You die, and then after nearly 2 seconds, you respawn with 25% health and mana. But a lot of times, you just die again. You're not getting a whole lot of damage off whenever you revive. I would have expected him to go into more cooldown with that Pendulum of Ages, especially with the build that he's gone. But it ends up not being the case. We'll see if that alternate timeline ends up being impactful, because I've yet to see it really turn a fight. And I would like to. It seems fun.
Well, we're going to see a dash taunt onto Gamma yet again. He's the primary target for it. Snipe hits 2 from BennyQ. Gamma low, and he'll be able to make his way out for the time being. Centurion shots are fired. Gamma's still alive for the time being, but a cavalry charge forces a few away. It'll be a quick disengage by both teams onto it. Mask and Wowie both still holding onto ultimate. And luckily for Winter Dogs, they've got a Raw on the back end of it, so BennyQ can make sure to heal them up back to near full, but just a quick scattered fight that ends up in nothing.
It does lose Snoopy both of his relics, though, and that's pretty key going into this next team fight, that he doesn't have beads or Aegis available, or his ultimate. So Annenster should be able to hunt him down if Snoopy ends up stepping up a little bit too far. And I'd love to see the Winter Dogs play up on the objective now. But he's got Blink. He's still got his ultimate. If he could trade out his life for the Chirons, that's best case scenario for the Winter Dogs, that you're able to take him out of the fight really quickly. Would like to see the Winter Dogs leverage that relic lead.
Well, right now, Hoofs are just going to take a quick Pyromancer with some nice 860 crits coming out of Mask there. A double taunt in by Gino. That's going to be a quick 2 down, or a quick 1 down on that one as Annenster falls. Wowie and the rest of the team forced to walk away, but a very quick pick for the Hoofs now gives them some confidence to start up this Fire Giant. Gamma's still in the area, does have ult again. Need to be wary of that one. Mass charging up his, but it looks like it's mostly just a bait to see if they can find anybody walking forward. Aqua's going to be the one that takes the first little bit of it. Mass still charging up that Sonic Boom. Gamma getting bursted down on that left side. He drops the pillars in response. Centurion from Snoopy. The last shot will be enough to find home and take down a second one. Now down 2 kills so far are the Winter Dogs, as they'll have to fight into a 3v5 at the Fire Giant. They have any hopes of getting it, but these crits out of Mass are just shredding through the Fire Giant. Hoofs will get the Fire Giant. Aqua might lose his life in response to this. He dashes into 3, and Snoopy is just pelting it with basic after basic as Gino finishes the job with Shield Wall. And 3 down and a Fire Giant buff for the Hoofs. They've now pushed this game successfully back in their favor.
And it's the exact same thing. I mean, the Hoofs are just more willing. Hello, BennyQ. Okay, that's fine, I guess. That's a pretty good pick for them to get over the wall there with the old Lassus combo from Benny. That was clean. But overall, I mean, it's the same thing for the Winter Dogs, that the Hoofs are more willing to take these engagements and be the ones starting these fights off in comparison to the Chaos side. And there they find Annenster. Yeah, he doesn't have beads, and so he gets dash taunted, doesn't react with the Ragnarok like he needs to. And it's a straight up 4v5, and the Hoofs have used nothing after that. So a good pick by the Hoofs, but again, I think the Winter Dogs make it a little bit harder on themselves.
Okay, Ragnarok expended. Beads out of Gino, but Snoopy is now here to respond in kind. Half health on Gino, but ultimate away from Andenster and his beads as well. Now, I would imagine that is a 100% win for the Hoofs on that one because they get both primary defenses away from Andy.
Yeah, that's definitely a win for the Hoofs. I mean, you've got your support without beads. That's fine. That's how it goes. I want to see this. Yeah, the snipe over the wall coming from Benny Q. Wonder if he has mask on a ward right there, because I don't think he did.
I don't
coming
think so.
over to that side. That was nice coming from Benny. I love it. And he's got plenty of CDR. Let it fly, man. He's got max CDR. I mean, you can't hold that snipe forever. Definitely love the aggressiveness in that moment. Highlight play for him.
Yeah, I can't really speak for the moment looking at, the wards on that side of the map. Maybe some of them have despawned by the time, but I only see kind of a blue ward in that area. So unless he walked over that red ward and then back towards it, and Benny just got a really sick 300 IQ, okay, he's going to go steal my back camps kind of moment. Other than that, sick snipe by Benny, getting at least one member with the Fire Giant taken away. And what better one than Mask to keep that one off of? But now Herculean Hoofs are grouping up for the Tower Siege with their Fire Giant buff. They're going to take down Tier 2 very quickly in dual lane, now make their way up towards the Phoenix. They're going to fight a strong 5v5 here because all members of Winter Dogs up, all ultimates up as well across the board. Meerkat and Gino going in. Gamma, the first target of aggression. Aqua's going to go into the back with the cavalry charge. We'll find only Meerkat. Meerkat is taking a ton of damage. Andy is trying to find his way into the back. Will manage to get him with the last bite. And that'll be the first blood of the fight going in the way of the Winter Dogs. Dash taunts in by Gino, but it looks like it got ohmed away before the taunt goes through. However, it's not going to last long enough, as the ohm will only help secure the deal. Baskin takes down one. That's support for Solo. Still pushing forward, though. Gino's still fairly healthy. Wow, he's going to take a little bit of damage from Baskin, but they're waiting for the minions to show back up.
Remember that these types of elongated fights are better for the Winter Dogs because they don't have to even go back to the fountain, which is, of course, close, but they've got the sustain, whereas the other side do not.
Oh, dash taunt by Gino, and that's execute this target as Snoopy picks up one, but Mask goes into the back line to find Benny Q. Gonna get the beads, and the Aegis away from the mid laner, still looking for that last auto. He can't find it. Wow, he's able to take him down. Benny Q sustaining just a little while longer under, but eventually he will fall. Baskin takes down Wowie, and Aqua falls in response as well. Snoopy still full health in the engagement. And with all 5 down, Gamma coming up shortly, he's going to have a tall task of a defense. Has those Starmic Pillars, you have to use those quickly. He'll drop him on top, but Snoopy is not worried about it. That Titan is just getting shredded down and will fall. The Giddy Up in the final basic will secure an extra kill. But just over 30 minutes, and the Hoofs turn this one around for the first game of the set.
I mean, 9-0 and 12 for the back line of the Hoofs that game. So yeah, they lost their front line a little bit. Meerkat certainly struggled in this game, to say the least, but their back line was pretty much pristine. Baskin in particular, man, pumping out the damage. Yeah, they kill Mask on that last Phoenix Siege, but Baskin got to free cast the entire time, and I think he might have soloed Wowie basically all by himself. That's what the Hoofs do, man. They attack you from a lot of angles. If you got to focus out Mask, then Baskin's going to kill you. If you have to focus out Baskin, then Snoopy's going to kill you. It's how this team is built.
And with that, Herculean Hoofs, they do take game 1 of this best-of-3 set. We're going to cut it to a quick break. When we come back, the desk will break down that first game.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Game number 1 goes the way that the Herculean Hoofs would want. Didn't seem like it at the very beginning.
No.
Winter Dogs had an outlandish,
Nailed it.
outrageous, both.
Both.
I'd wanted to say both, and so I had to just divulge them, diverse them, divide them even into two. And now we find ourselves at an interesting point because it will be moving to game number 2. But before we get into all of that, it's the path this game takes. Feels really good for Winter Dogs Mifflin. 6 kills in a row, maybe 7, before any real true response comes up. Andy's 6-0.
He's all of them.
And then there's a Gold Fury steal. And it's who cares? It's just a Gold Fury. That's not going to change everything. But it kind of feels like that was the beginning of the change of the pace.
It really was, man. Despite Annenster's valiant efforts to keep them afloat throughout this
4-0
game.
here.
He quite was not able to do it this time around. And it wasn't just Annenster over there. Aquarius was also having a pretty good game throughout the early, but that Gold Fury steal led to a Fire Giant fight. That Fire Giant fight led to the Herculean Hoofs having the lead for themselves. And then it just slowly started to fall apart from there for the Winter Dogs. There were still a couple of glimpses of greatness. There were some phenomenal ultimates from the Ra. There were a decent couple engages from the Guan Yu. But at the end of the day, the Herculean Hoofs' pressure, especially around Baskin, was just a little bit too much.
I mean, Snoopy's 2-0-4 here. This is this is the final fight that comes through. Snoopy gets to have a phenomenal performance. Baskin, I believe, gets 2 kills throughout this one. I mean, just burning them down cleanly. And yeah, they didn't quite come out of it as unscathed as I'm sure they would have liked. But honestly, all you need is one deicide at 30 minutes, and that's enough to get you a win. They showcase that there. 5-0-6 for Snoopy. Just behind him is 4-0-6 there for Baskin. I mean, a lot of pressure onto the mid and carry, but I mean, we say this all the time, like Meerkats 1-6, they put a lot of pressure into solo, and it didn't really cascade anywhere else.
Is this the second time today that a jungler goes 7-2 and then loses?
Yes, that is.
That is a cursed KD. Keep your eyes on that one. I feel like I just saw a line in the Matrix right there.
Mifflin saw the
out.
truth rip open for a second. The eyes looked in at him, and then they closed back up.
I stared into the abyss, and it stared back.
Man, it gets real scary when that happens. Trust me. You don't want to do it too often.
I will never do it again.
Forward. Yeah, no. It's enough to drive a man to madness. Either way, here's where we get to the point where game number 2 is very, very crucial. Again, This is still the top bracket, so loser gets knocked down to play Sturdy Artisans. Kind of feels like it's a loser go home situation. That's definitely not a place you want to be in, and so this one matters doubly so for the Winter Dogs. Sturdy Artisans, not necessarily an opponent you want to find yourself up against, at least not this soon, even though that would be day 3. It's the last day. I guess it's about as soon as you'd have to. But ideally, you'll push it to the finals. If the Herculean Hoofs move forward, they guarantee themselves a minimum $10,000 more in prizing, and that's assuming they get second. More than that if they're able to get first in the overall thing, but it's guaranteed. But they also get the most important part of this, a 1-game advantage in a best of 5. That means they only need 2 wins, while the other team would need 3 to be able to come out on top, and that's where things get really dicey for you. Granted, if you come up and maybe you're facing up against the Winter Dogs again, 2 games is exactly what you want, right? You want to only be able to come in, get it done real quick as the picks and bans come through. Guess what? Most of it's similar to what we've seen today and in the SBL. Yamoja, Yanis, Chiron, Sol, Sobek, Tiamat, with Gilgamesh finally making it through, I believe, for the first time today.
Not the first time today, is it? We saw it
Maybe
in
he's been picked
support earlier today, if memory serves.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But the first time this set, though.
First time in North America,
Let's
probably.
go, and the only region that matters. Just kidding. To all the fans across the pond, I have major
we love you.
respect
Please
for
stay.
you guys. Yeah, please stay. Winter Dogs pick up the Gilgamesh first up overall. Likely going to be going into the jungle if history's any indicator. It has phenomenal presence with Anderson playing as well as he did on the Fenrir last time around. Got to only think he's going to do better a little bit higher up on the tier list. And getting Athena for yourself as well means that when this Gilgamesh is jumping in, if he's locking people down inside the Winds of Shamash, well, Defender of Olympus should be there to help him out.
I was worried. I see King Arthur Mercury, and I'm thinking, man, they're just going to run it back. There's no reason to change what you did. It worked out well, right? So lock it in again. And so far, they're doing that as best they can, but that Athena being stolen away is going to make things a little more difficult to get all 5 of them. Gilgamesh, Athena, Danza. I mean, this is feeling like the beginnings of something fresh for Winter Dogs that can have a lot of control, and there's a lot of setup in that. A lot of combinations that we've seen over the last few weeks in the SBL specifically that have been very successful, Myth.
This is almost reminiscent of what we saw from the Winter Dogs towards the beginning of Season 8, maybe the tail end of Season 7, where it was that identity of, we're going to run it down, and if we don't win out with a huge lead in the first 10, 15 minutes, it's going to fall apart. That's kind of what the composition's already starting to shape up to be for this Winter Dogs team. Gilgamesh is a very strong early game pick that does admittedly transition relatively well into the late game, but Danza Burrow in particular is a god that if you fall behind on, there's not much you can do. You don't have great escape options because the rocket is very easy to deal with. You can't really just turn into a leaf. It's not a real stealth. I know exactly which one you are. It's the same one every single time. Knock him out of it. He doesn't have the movement speed buff for him either. And now this Zhang Kui kind of fits that narrative as well. Either I win real hard or I'm going to lose real hard.
I've seen enough Zhang that I can very simply say, well, we done. Herculean Who's moved forward. Sorry, guys. Look, 7 games in the SBL. He's won 0 of them. I think 1 game this weekend. He lost it pretty dramatically. Luckily, they already had that Mercury locked in. I would have said this is where you lock in a Nemesis and you just have happy, happy, happy smiles, happy thoughts. So Zhang not having necessarily an immediate counter on the other side, but the raw Raijin taken away means that the Zhang had to come through. Hu Yi Kabrakan picked up over here for the Herculean Hooves. And where's this Kabrakan going? Is this a Kabrakan Hu Yi lane?
I think so, and it's a pretty decent lane. You got the wall set up to make sure that the bounce can come through. It's similar to how Ymir operates in lane. You're able to group up the wave relatively well as well. I like it. I like this composition from the Hooves. I think it's just the Hooves doing what the Hooves do. King Arthur out of the soul lane. Not often you're going to shut down a King Arthur like we saw in Game 1. Meerkat was around 1 and 5 at the 15-minute mark, but you're not going to be able to do that consistently. Hopefully, if you're a Meerkat fan.
Even if you do, right? Like, okay.
Yeah,
you just spent all your time over there on left. I mean, that's kind of what happened in Game 1, right? It's like, you can sit on Meerkat all you want. If it doesn't mean that you shut down the rest of the map, they don't seem to care too much.
You gotta get that Baskin guy.
Yeah, he's kind of scary, right? Oh, man, what was he playing last game? He's something he's really good at.
Merlin, maybe?
I think it was the Merlin.
They banned the Yanis. Oh, they did
Definitely
it again.
not a Marlin.
No.
That's a fish.
Well.
Is it?
It's a name.
It's the name of the fish in Finding Nemo.
Sure is.
That's the connection. I'm pretty sure.
Saddest
it is
Pixar
a
movie.
Fish. Definitely. Well, like, story-wise,
yes.
storytelling-wise, Wait, yes, story-wise, yes. Storytelling-wise, maybe not quite. Either way, we're getting sidetracked here. We'll have to see if the Herculean Hoofs can find it in 2, or if the Winter Dogs bounce back.
Thank you, Gore and Mifflin, for breaking that one down onto it. Agron, I'm confused. I don't think Benny Q picked a character.
Oh, he did. It's just Zhang Kui, and it's a character that has not done very well. Now, it's not incapable of doing well. I'm a Zhang Kui apologist in a lot of ways, but I think that there is a key thing that is being missed in Zhang Kui play at a high level, and that's that you have to pick him late in the draft. Check for the Winter Dogs. I like that. And you got to pick him against compositions where you could afford to go Blink Aegis. That has to be I'm convinced that has to be your relic combination, that no other relic combination will truly work. And as a result, I'm looking down at Benny Q's relic slots, I'm seeing a Purification Beads, and I'm kicking my feet up and knowing the Hoofs are going to roll them over in this game. That's just how it goes. Because you need both. You can't get beads, because if you go Blink Beads, then you just get sundered and insta-die. And if you go Beads Aegis, you can never deal damage to who you need to deal damage to. So that's how I've arrived at my conclusion.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. You know, as much as I like Zhang Kui, I also, you know, Conduit Gem is great and all. I don't know. I kind of like Vampiric Shroud on him. I think it's really fun. Especially if you go for the more tankier option onto the Vampiric Shroud, you can be really, really tanky and healthy into it. But I'm kind of with you on this. You know, the lack of Blink means you'll never be able to initiate, and as a frontline mage, you kind of need to be in their face, and with no Aegis at the moment, it means he just kind of dies. So I don't know. Well, maybe Benny Q can pull it out and get the first win we've seen all season with him out of, what did Gore say, like 8 or 9 losses he's had so far. Maybe we'll see our first one. I mean, that's kind of how some gods were, you know, their first times through in SPL and all that. I mean, I know like Opwash and maybe, no, not Raijin. Raijin was actually really, really good. How many gods have had that bad of a losing streak?
Not that many to go, you know, 8 or so. But I don't know. I just think Benny Q does have the right mentality you need when playing Zhang Kui. You have to be willing to absolutely gun it down. Like, you have to get in there. You cannot play scared on this god. And Benny Q is not a player who has ever once in his life played scared. So at least they've got that going for him, which is nice. But I just don't know how he bypasses this Cabrakan. Gino is just going to keep Benny occupied in every team fight. How is Benny going to get to the guys he can actually kill? Because I don't think he puts any sort of fear into King Arthur or into Cabrakan. Those are just not picks that really need to be intimidated by Zhang Kui. I like Zhang against Merlin quite a bit. I think that it's really the same way, just flipped, that Merlin doesn't scare me at all as a Zhang Kui. I can just run at that guy, and there's not a whole lot he can do to me until he's level 18. But you kind of need Blink in order to get on top of him enough to really punish him.
Yeah, this is going to be a rough one for Benny Q, and considering typically King Arthur goes tank boots and supports are pretty much always going tank boots, it means that this more damage over time, tick-based damage that Zhang Kui has is going to be a lot less relevant than something like a raw snipe or, you know, even a final judgment from a Thoth. You know, it just kind of feels like this was a, let's try it out pick, and maybe we can see if we can get that first dub onto it. But we hold that, Andy rotates over with Gamma, not able to find anything successful onto the gank for it. Meerkat and Aqua just boxing out as well.
Meerkat in some trouble, but able to spin through that Winds of Shamash, and he actually might have baited Aqua in, because here comes Mask.
That's going to try to go through, going to get a couple of basics and throw him right back. The drop kick's not going to save his life, as Mask is able to pick that one up quick and clean for first blood once again for the Herculean Hoofs.
Yeah, no one kills Meerkat 3 times in lane in game 1 and gets away with it. Let that be a lesson to all of you out there. Just baits in Aqua very cleanly, and Mask is right there on time. Exactly. That's Meerkat's home court, if you will. So Mask comes over, gets first blood, and exactly what you want. The ability to have your Mercury be aggressive out across the map.
Well, Snoopy gonna take a nice dash in from Gamma. Gamma still waiting for the taunt sonic boom onto the back end of it. Hold Snoopy's life for just the moment, though. Ultimate out of Gamma may be enough to save Wowie's life, but only for a short while. Gamma lands right back down. and the Suns rain down. Andy, however, able to pick up with the skewer to take down one. Benny Q's rotated over and puts himself on the board, putting 2 kills for 2 here in this trade.
Yeah, nice little play there by Mask. It's just a little unfortunate that Benny's able to get there long before Baskin, who really did not seem to have a whole lot of intention to rotate on that fight. But love it. Go over to solo side, gank, get first blood, comes straight back to duo with your ultimate, and Snoopy baits it really nicely. Perfect ultimate straight down that lane, and he's able to get both, still get the kill on Wowie. And there was a nice play by Snoopy. He hit level 5, instantly leveled his ult and dropped it on top of himself, but just a little bit too much damage coming from Ananster on the back end.
That looked really hard for Meerkat to get out of that one. He used, what, like 3 dashes? That's a lot of buttons he had to press to get away from the rotation.
He timed his beads at the right time, okay? If he got interrupted out of that spin, then he would have died.
Yeah, okay, I'll give him that one. Now, to be fair, one of those spins doesn't really boost his movement speed, but it's still good. He did get sundered, so at least he got a sunder out of him as well. So, yeah, Meerkat makes it out of there. I mean, he's a world champion, Aggro. He's a world champion. Of course he's going to make it out of there.
Collegiate world champion, that's right. He's
still
dominant.
Still
Yep, that's right. Dominant. I'm back on that Loki, but, those are
Loki solo, baby.
Times have passed for Meerkat. That championship pedigree still there, of course, but not definitely a little bit of a different look for him now that he's a King Arthur man.
Yeah, he also went from playing mid during that time, I believe, was kind of the realm he was sitting. Actually only played solo as like just to play the Loki in that one. But we'll hold that. Gamma's dash gets blocked out by Gino. And with the Suns raining down, there is no escape path for Gamma. He gets taken down by Baskin. Andy trying to make a counter rotation along with Wowie. Wowie gonna expend the rocket out to go for the chase. He's gonna ride right into Gino and take him down just for the moment. Not yet, though. Sonic Boom almost saves his life. But Andy's still able to find him at the last bit with a skewer. Benny gonna throw out the card and recall demons, and that'll be enough to take down Baskin. Oh, by the way, Gamma has come back from the grave and is still looking for more, but unable to find Snoopy. He finds him deep into the tower with that taunt, but nothing more to be had from there.
Yeah, really good ultimate again from Mask, but again, the tankiness from the Winter Dogs ends up being just a little bit too much. Set has that Sandstorm, giving that physical damage mitigation. Benny Q on the Jean-Qui can just keep on moving forward. A good pick for the Hoofs, but to lose a couple on the back end, certainly not worth their while, especially when the pick was just on the Gamma, who is still ahead of where Gino is in farm at this point.
Yeah, pretty much just draws the game back to even, which for now is where Winter Dogs at least need to be, is even, but obviously they'd much rather be ahead in this case. Benny Q going for the cooldown boots in this instance. I would imagine you would go Spear of the Magus, or not Spear, the Shoes of the Magus on a Jean-Qui, get that extra power, get that lifesteal on top of it. Why the cooldown boots for here?
Probably about how much cooldown he was going to end up with in the build overall. That he probably feels like he needs. He's not going to go a whole lot of CDR from here. I'd imagine it's probably going to be Spear of the Magus next into something like a Charon's Coin. Actually goes Deso, so he's going a little bit more cooldown oriented. If you're going Deso, I agree that I would have gone for the purple boots and just gotten that extra power. Jean-Qui, a character that definitely needs some amount of cooldown reduction, but not a ton. Maybe 20% is that nice point that you like. So, and you can now be a little bit more aggressive with the rest of your build. Go Magus, go Charons, that sort of stuff. But a little surprised to see the Deso as the first item there for Benny.
Yeah, Hoofs will take down the Scorpion very quickly just to clear that off the map. That'll allow Fire Giant to spawn right on time. Mako gets plucked out by Mass and actually gets the ultimate out of Gamma for it. Onto the flip side, they're able to take a Scorpion in the process. Now with Gamma's ultimate down and half health, that'll be the end of the fight for the Hoofs for the time being. Snoopy can try and look towards Woe. He almost gets a nice little ricochet there, but one little sidestep towards the wall, make sure that Wowie's able to get out of that one, no problem. Mass now looking towards the mid lane, has that speed buff still around his waist, looking for Benny Q, gets the dash, and gets the beads out of Benny Q.
Snoopy on his left-hand side in some trouble, but drops his ultimate in response to Wowie's and then just hangs up, uses that hang time from Dive Bomb in order to make sure that he stays nice and safe.
Well, Mast and Andy going to have a little bit of a scuffle here, but Andy's going to come out on the better end of that one, or at least for the time being. Baskin is rotated over around, along with the rest of the team. Gonna be an ultimate in from Mask, the Sonic Boom, and Baskin will clean up the rest of that one, putting himself 2 kills up on the board. Ultimate at Gino just to zone Gamma and Benny Q away. Like the use of the ultimate there from Gino.
Just to make sure that they weren't going to be able to get a good flank off, because Benny's in a pretty strong spot right now. I mean, he hit his two-item power spike. You can deal a lot of damage to Zhonghui at this point in the game, so good awareness by Gino to make sure that they can't get in. But Andy just kind of caught on an island there with the way that he played that. Used that teleport a little bit too early. Nowhere for him to go. Set has all this mobility that everyone thinks of, the movement speed and the long-range teleport. But as soon as that sandstorm is on cooldown and you've used the teleport aspect of it, movement speed oftentimes is not going to be enough to get you away from people, especially when there's a Sonic Boom on the other side.
Yeah, Sonic Boom, kind of a hard one to get away from when you got that straight shot right at them for it. So everybody just kind of had a reset here onto the map. The Gold Fury has spawned because of the Scorpion taken on the left. Fire Giant and Pyro are up as well. Both Scorpions cleared just in time for their ideal 10-minute spawn on that right-hand side. Meerkat will take one of the last totems we'll probably see throughout the game, but not quite the end of them just yet. Annoncer and Mass both looking for aggression here on this left-hand side. Yet again, a lot of focus on this dual lane between these two junglers.
Neither one has really been able to guarantee the death in quite some time. Wow, we took that spill earlier on, but that was a while ago at this point.
Oh, Gino going to eat one of the absorb stacks on Gamma there. Not going to be able to get the stun off because of it. And with that, that'll be the end of that little skirmish between the supports there. Maybe looking for potentially more, but no follow-up to be had after the taunt. Gino going to go in, use the ultimate right onto Benny Q. Gets him caught with the Sonic Boom, and that's an ultimate right in response out of Gino. Benny Q tanking for now, but he's just not doing enough damage back to them. And that'll be the end of his life as Mask picks him up with one more basic. Gino and Basket now rotating back into jungle, and Gamma had to hightail it out of there.
And what is Benny really supposed to do about all of that? Gino just walks at him quickly because he's Kabrakan and ults him.
And Meerkat does the same. Walks at him and ults him. Mask gets the major look on the bottom end for the final blow, but that's just the name of what the Hoofs have done at them. They're just W-keying at Winter Dogs, and there's not really much they can respond with. Gold Fury started up and just as quickly taken down, make that now a 4,000 gold lead, the most significant lead either team has taken in the early stages of either of these games. About 3,500 experience as well. Will put Herculean Hoofs in a nice little early lead.
Yeah, they're in a good spot now after getting that first Gold Fury. Mask, again, looking really good on this Mercury. Baskin still with a ton of farm. He's up nearly 1,000 gold over Benny all on his own. And once the Zhonghui starts to fall behind, you start thinking, man, I really wish I was playing someone besides Zhonghui. Like, Zhonghui went ahead, feels really good that you could just W-key at anyone. You don't have to respect any damage that's coming at you. You deal a ton all at the same time. Zhonghui from behind, you're asking why you're even here. That you're not really going to be able to contribute a whole lot to these team fights. And now, Benny is pretty far from being able to contribute. He has picked up Blink at level 12. I think he had Aegis and got rid of it before he left base in order to pick up the Blink instead, which is, I think, the right idea. I mean, this Winter Dogs composition is all dive. You've got Danza Burrow Rocket to get you in the back line. You've got Set. You've got Gilgamesh. You've got Athena. There shouldn't be someone left alone in the back line. You should be able to, you got to be able to get on top of them.
And it probably definitely shouldn't be a Zhonghui. He's going to go in aggressively onto Baskin. Baskin loses a huge chunk of health, but Benny Q loses even more because he got left under the tower, left tanking it up there. Gamma dashes away before Gino can trap him in, but a Sonic Boom will throw him right back into the clutches of him. Wow, we're going to take quite a bit of damage for it. He's able to get into the rocket form looking for one, but he hits the wall, missing Baskin. Annoncer able to pick up Mask on the back end of it, but Meerkat is diving that tower for the carry. Will take down one, make that a double for him as Gamma falls. And he is still left nearly full health, but Snoopy and Gino are hunting him down. Meanwhile, Aqua finds Baskin all alone in the backside of the jungle. Annoncer still sneaking around looking for something, or most importantly, probably just looking for a way out. And Gino's going to find him. He's going to slow him with the Skewer, stun through, gets out with the Sandstorm. With Aquarius there as a backup, looks like Annoncer may have just made it out. Nice drop kick by Aqua.
Make sure that he gets out indeed. So overall, not the end of the world there for the Winter Dogs. They go 3, they lose 3, get 2 on the back end. So not ideal, but at least Aqua was able to pick up Baskin on the back end of that fight, which was the most important kill for the Winter Dogs for sure. But Wowie definitely has not been able to make the impact on this Danza that I'm sure the Winter Dogs were hoping for. Needs to be able to be a little bit better with that ultimate. Maybe could have just gone for Mask and guarantee that kill. Might put him out of position by doing that, but with Meerkat coming in and good pathing by Baskin in order to get away from the rocket number 1, but number 2, lead the Winter Dogs directly into Meerkat, and Meerk did a good job of cleaning up underneath that tower.
And I think not just that, also kind of forcing Aquarius to leave the fight and go on this wild goose chase for Baskin. He still got him on the back end of it, so still able to pick up that kill, but I think with Aquarius not able to be in that fight, that kind of really hurt the Winter Dogs' potential onto it. Also, Benny Q, blinking and walking into the tower at the beginning of the fight probably wasn't the best look for him either.
No, definitely not the ideal start to the fight. Kind of like this for Andenster. Not ideal to just get annihilated by Mask.
And Gamma has nowhere to go. Welcome to fighting against Cabrakan in the Fire Giant zone there. There was not a single point in which Gamma could have gotten away out of there. Wins some Ashis for Aquarius. Ultimate out of Benny Q. That's going to force Gino to walk away from him for the time being. Tremoring him around the wall. Drop kick. Not enough to take him down, as that puts up a quick trip on the board there for Baskin in the midst of that fight.
Man, it's been a tough day for the Winter Dogs so far, but at least they were able to seal away that Pyromancer. Nice little play by Aqua in order to get it with those ticks from the Winds of Shamash. And overall, I think Gamma has really struggled up against Geno so far today. I mean, had the counter matchup, so to speak, last game. Not an automatic win by any means, but still one that you'd hope he'd be able to be pretty impactful in. But felt like Geno was able to dictate a lot of those engagements really well despite that. And now, I mean, a 3-level lead for Geno, and he is just dominating in this game. 0, 2, and 9, and Benny Q can't play the game anymore because Geno's just been all over him.
And I think it may be even less playtime for Benny Q because look at what he upgraded on his last back. Heavenly Agility maxed out here for him, which basically, to me, says, all right, Jean-Qui threw a card or ulted. All right, everybody just walk away.
Yeah, and the Gilgamesh ultimate also gets immune by this, so you could just walk through the outer edges and feel pretty good about it.
Here as well, maybe Taunta onto Geno. That's just going to be an immediate ult with a Sonic Boom to follow up. Quick beads out of Andy will lead to a quick death afterwards as Baskin picks up an immediate 2 kills. Not enough tankiness online for Gamma just yet, and nor enough health on that tier 1 tower. It falls down quickly to them. Aquarius level 17. Probably the only player on his team with any kind of a surmountable lead for themselves. He'll use the heroic leap away, make you look. There's a little bit of damage, but they are just running at this man. And they don't have the heavenly agility, but they don't need it because Baskin picks up a 3rd delayed kill, to be giving him a delayed triple kill yet again in another fight. I don't think 9 kills on a Merlin is where you want to put it. Maybe they should have banned him coming into game 2.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. They also could have not picked Jean-Qui.
Maybe.
That might have helped. I mean, Geno doesn't even have Blink, and he's getting on top of Benny in these fights. And some of that is certainly on Benny's positioning, but it's also that Cabrakan gets pretty quick whenever he uses the 1, and Jean-Qui has 0 peel tools for that instance because Cabrakan's slow immune. And if he's in range to get stunned, then he's going to ult you anyways. So you're dead as soon as that happens. Just a great Cabrakan pick in general here for the Hoofs that has really prevented Benny Q from being able to do a whole lot. And if Benny can't do a whole lot, then that means that Andy can't do a whole lot, and Gamma can't do a whole lot. And it's not all on Benny Q. I know it might have sounded like that as I was explaining it, but with the Hoofs being able to dictate the pace of all of these engagements, if they're the ones initiating everything, then the Winter Dogs are not going to be able to come back with this type of composition. The Dogs' composition is all dive. That's all they've got. They've got very little peel. They've got very little anything else. It's just about diving that backline. And when the Hoofs are the ones hitting you first, you're not going to be able to do that. And that's why this composition's really struggling.
And they just can't seem to find any footing. As soon as Benny Q even thinks about walking out of one of the safety nets of a tower or a jungle, or even at this point just walking out of his base, is just a minefield waiting for him. Like you were saying, Geno doesn't even need to use a blink. He doesn't have a blink. But somehow he's on top of the enemy team before the Winter Dogs are even remotely near any of them. It just feels like all this dive that they could have is just not being utilized in any way possible.
Well, now it's too late. I mean, at this point, you're down 9,000 gold in 19 minutes. Diving's not going to work anymore. You've got to just hope that the Hoofs mess up their dive, that you can punish them, that Mask goes a little bit too deep, that Gino decides that he wants to have a little bit too much fun and ints. Like, that's the hope here for the Winter Dogs, because this composition just does not have very good wave clear. They've got an okay initiation because of the Athena, of course, but you've got to really hope that the Hoofs decide to go a little bit deeper than they need to, because if the Hoofs stay at home and do what they're supposed to from this position, they're going to be going to the finals.
Right now, Hoofs are looking to position towards this left side Phoenix and putting Mast over at the mid, leaving Anister to deal with him, but Andy is down 3 levels and about a half an item as well. I don't know how much Andy's going to be able to do against Mast, especially who's also built into 2 crit items with a fully stacked Rage and a Shadow Steel. I don't think Andy is going to have a great time trying to deal with Mask in this case. And he might just be able to pick up this Phoenix pretty close to free. Skier's going to do a little bit, but yeah, Andy's not even giving Mask the time of day. Instead, he's going to the left-hand side where the rest of the fight is broken down. Ultimate from Gina's going to zone them out. Sonic Boom will find Gamma on the backside of it, make that a double kill for Mask as he finds Welly all alone. Aqua getting low. He's going to get one nice little punt, but Mask is still looking for one more. Snoopy he takes him down, but a triple kill for Mask and a deicide for the Herculean Hooves. Means that with the Phoenix down, they're going to walk right into the throne room and take this in a quick 2-0.
Yeah, impressive stuff from the Hoofs. I mean, this is the team that we expected to see for the very beginning of the SPL or the SCC phase. They just weren't able to put it together for a little bit there. Ultimately, they do, and it's right on time for these playoffs. So excited to see this team and what they're going to do in the finals. Of course, the Winter Dogs not done quite yet. They get a chance to go up against Sturdy Artisans tomorrow, but they've got their work cut out for them because Sturdy Artisans are looking really good right now.
Yeah, I think with a game like that, Sturdy Artisans are probably not the next prize you're looking to fight down onto the bottom end of it. We're going to cut it to a quick break. When we come back, the desk will break down that second game.
Lo más importante es lo que siento, no que vayamos a hacer. Quiero de esos besos y con exceso que de ti tengo sé. Quiero tenerte, quiero beber de lado encima de tu cuerpo y lento a lento nos vamos a conocer. Me gusta como somos, mami, así en plural. Estamos para estar solos, sino para disfrutar. Me gusta como somos, mami, así en plural. Que sea costumbre, pero no hay nada que me asombre, que cuando yo escucho tu nombre. Tú me lo sé, y esas caras también. No eres Shakira, bebé, pero no me mienten a mí. Quiero esos besos, no sé qué fue, mamita, pero me expreso. Es por ti luchar hasta la muerte. Yeah, contigo tuve suerte. Yeah, tú que matas con tu actitud. Como tú no hay nadie más, o al menos no sé. Y si pues no son como ustedes, que baby tú que matas con tu actitud. Es que el rol no me da para darte todo el tiempo que tú te mereces, bebé. Me gusta como somos, mami, así en plural. Estamos para estar solos, sino para disfrutar. Me gusta como somos, mami, así en plural. Que sea costumbre, pero no hay nada que me asombre, que cuando yo escucho tu nombre. No me importa ser el ridículo, por ti. No me importa desnudar todos mis miedos. No me importa buscarme la vida por algo que no te muero. Yo te tengo, pero es que yo no sé si esto va a ser eterno. Solo hasta las 10. Si eres protagonista de mi vida, bebé. Es solo una novela que pasa ni te ve. No sé, tú que matas con tu actitud. Como tú no hay nadie más, o al menos no sé. Y si pues no son como ustedes, que baby tú que matas con tu actitud. Es que el rol no me da para darte todo el tiempo que tú te mereces, ver. Me gusta como somos, mami, así en plural. Estamos para estar solos, sino para disfrutar. Me gusta como somos, mami, así en plural. Que sea costumbre, pero no hay nada que me asombre, que cuando yo escucho tu nombre.
Welcome back to what will be the last desk of the day. Because, well, no, I promise. Yeah, I know. It's a shame. Our time with the bear, short, just like the bear's time with its legs. We're short. Jeez. Man, hold on. Let's roll it back. Hey, welcome back to the last desk of the day. Herculean Hoofs. Again, some bumpy roads there in game number 1. Not so much there in game number 2. 21 kills, 21 minutes. They do the thing they need to do in order to secure themselves a path into the finals once more. For the Winter Dogs, that means the thing that we were trying to dodge is going to be right there for them. Sturdy Artisans waiting in the bottom bracket. Before we get through that Mifflin, or to that Mifflin, we'll cover all that at the end of the day and remind you about all the fun stuff we have in store tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
You have to look at this game. Things got out of hand. Things got out of hand pretty fast, it feels like. And I'm trying to pinpoint when it happened. It kind of feels like when they loaded in.
Yeah, minute 0 felt pretty bad, didn't it? I mean, the Winter Dogs came in with a composition that was bred to do one thing, and it's win the early game. And one thing they didn't do is win the early game. And after that, it really did just slip out of their control. I think Aggro summed it up best when J-Mac asked what they could have done better. It's don't draft Zhonghui. But for all you Zhonghui fans at home,
why?
Don't sweat it too much, because the SPL win rate is unaffected still. Still 0-8 in the SPL, right? Or something like that.
0-7.
0-7. Phenomenal.
Yeah, not much better than what you said. Those numbers didn't really increase it the way you wanted it to. But yeah, unfortunate, I think, overall for Winter Dogs. The first set that we get to see this weekend from them. And a nice 2-0 that comes through. Look, Mask, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Baskin in a second. Right now I'll talk about Mask. A lot of presence from this Mercury to the point where he walked up on that mid-Phoenix. Andy saw him, and Andy just said, nah, and walked the other way. Like, he just decided no. And you could see why. Afterward, he ended up popping off. Look, finally, a 7-2 jungler that wins the game. 7-2-10 there for Masked out of the jungle.
Masked.
Had to be outshone by somebody, though. It was 10-2-6 for Baskin. 17,000 damage. Oh, let's round it up. He was 17 damage off of 18,000 as it comes through, so he could have just got one more audio. All of the damage he was throwing out there. Audio?
Auto, yo.
Yeah, auto, yo, that came through. Baskin looked really good. Same thing can be said for all of the Hoofs there. And that's where things get a little hairy for the Winter Dogs. Now, this is where the bracket comes in and the changes that come through. First off, guaranteed a lot of money in the pockets of the Herculean Hoofs. Prize pools are on the website, but just think about it. The difference between third place and second place here, which is the worst case for the Herculean Hoofs now, is second place, was $10,000. That's a lot of money that they're going to be able to get. Money. It's about $15,000, I believe. Maybe it's a little less, like $12,000, $13,000 between second and first. So a lot that is going to be able to line their pockets. Plus, oh, what's that one? Right, the one-game advantage. Mifflin, they just earned it by getting there for the 2-0. And so no matter what, whoever wins in that losers round 2 at the bottom is going to have to go in, win a best of 5, 3 games in a row, whereas the Herculean Hoofs only have to go for 2. Winter Dogs playing Sturdy Artisans, the matchup that should have been. They only won that 2-0 from a surrender. There we go.
Yep,
forfeit. That's the correct term. They weren't able to get their internet there. So we'll get to actually see how that match should have shaken out tomorrow when those start. Around 2:30, maybe 3, depends on the EU games. You notice here in North America, yeah, it's a little later in the afternoon, but we will still be starting the broadcast the same time as today, same time as yesterday. 11 a.m. Europe will start. It will be the lower bracket, then into the final. So one elimination. Actually, I guess it's just nothing but elimination matches from this point.
Limbs.
Someone's getting knocked out for third. Someone's getting knocked out for second there. It is all going to be starting tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. right here.
Eastern Standard.
To make sure. Eastern Standard, yeah. If you're in Europe, it's going to be like 4 or 5 p.m.
Like 6
somewhere.
hours.
A nice
It's more
afternoon
Europe.
dinner time snack. Something to watch. Either way, thanks for tuning in. From myself, from Mifflin, and from everyone back in production, as well as all of the casters. We really appreciated you being here. Pray for the bear. We'll see you tomorrow.
Peach it. Did I do it too soon? Oh, nice.